This award has a number of people involved in it. Gary Cooper, Chief Inspector from the Critical Incident Carder, from the Force Support Unit, PC Nick Humphreys, PC Tom O'Grady, PC Mark Smith, PC Lee Walker, PC Chris Jones and PC Neil Cotton. From the Marine Support Unit, PC Dave Spencer Cornfield, PC Matt Branston, PC Andy Hewitt and PC Kerry Murray. We also have this award to HM Coastguard, Paul Richman and Matt Renouf, and from the 202 Signal Regiment, Signalman Shaun James. As you're obviously all aware, this award relates to an incident that happened on Valentine's Day of this year. You may remember that the country was having a particularly bad spell of weather, and Hampshire was no exception. And on that night in question, hurricane force winds and a high tide caused quite extensive flooding in Lymington. Around 10 o'clock that evening, the fire service got a call that there were a number of people trapped in a marine cafe in Milford-on-Sea following a huge tidal surge and shingle being blown off the beach, smashing all the windows of the building and causing extensive damage to the cafe. Fire service attended and on arrival left one of their fire officers with the stranded people in the cafe, but actually felt the situation was too unsafe for them to remain there, and they had to withdraw their vehicle and their crew because of the amount of flying stones and debris, causing a significant risk to people. Seawater was running freely across the roads, and the situation was really looking quite severe for those trapped inside the restaurant. Chief Inspector Gary Cooper coordinated the police response and organised the Marine Unit, the Police Support Unit, the Army and the Coast Guard, and looked at the best way to try and rescue those stranded individuals. It was determined that using the Army truck was probably the most sensible and safest way to try and get to those people and rescue them. And PC Nick Humphreys, as team leader, then briefed the police officers at the scene, and together with the two volunteer Coast Guards, and with the truck being driven by Signaler James, they then started their way down towards the cafe to try and make that rescue. On their way down there, the wind and weather was still horrific. There was boulders in the road which blocked their way, so they had to stop and move an extremely large boulder out of the way. Every time they did that, the waves were still coming in and the tidal surge was making them having to link arms every time the surge came in. So a really unsafe situation for them, debris flying around. Eventually they managed to clear the path to the diner and made their further way down towards it. This wasn't before stones hitting the windscreen of the Army truck actually caused the windscreen to shatter, and they had to fashion some cover with some plastic to try and get themselves down to the restaurant. Once they were there, all of the individuals got out of the vehicle, formed a human chain to try and enable the diners to exit the restaurant and get into the vehicle. It's worth noting at this point they were in thigh-deep water, and they managed to get the first 19 people out of the restaurant into the van, into the truck, and get them to a place of safety. Having already effected that rescue of 19 people, there was still another number of people stuck in the restaurant, so all of those individuals then, having deposited the diners in a safe location, then went back again to get the remaining people out of the restaurant. And it's worth noting by this point the road was even more treacherous because, as I say, shingle had continued to come across the road, and actually the officers and everybody involved commended Signaler James on his driving, because with no windscreen, with plastic just trying to defend him from the wind and the rain, stones continuing hitting and no traction on the ground, it wasn't an easy task at all. The officers managed to go back again. They managed to rescue the final 13 people in the restaurant and get them back to a place of safety. All of this, no members of the public were injured as a result of that rescue, and everybody managed to get back safe. I think you'll all agree it's an absolutely outstanding rescue and a brilliant example of teamwork and professionalism by all involved. The bravery they showed by placing themselves in that situation was outstanding. And for that, sir, I would ask you to congratulate them for outstanding teamwork, outstanding courage, professionalism when rescuing stranded people in treacherous weather conditions, determination and selfless actions ensured the safe resolution of an extremely dangerous situation.
Thank you.